Hi, I'm Stacey with Envision Financial Planning, and we're back for another episode of Better Financial Health in 15 minutes or less. What I'd like to talk about today is kind of looking back at where you've been this year. We're entering the end of the third quarter of 2023, and so we've got almost 9 months to look back and see what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, and where we want to improve. And if you are like a lot of people and you had some New Year's resolutions, it's time to look back at those and see, what was I trying to do this year, particularly on the financial side? Were you trying to increase your 401k contributions? Were you trying to build your emergency fund? Were you trying to reduce unplanned expenditures? Whatever it is, I think it's now a very good time to go and look at that as we get ready to go into the fourth quarter, because the fourth quarter is filled with lots of holidays, family time, and it's a time where budgets can really get blown out if you're not careful. So the first step is to gather those bank statements, those credit card statements, and really look to see how you're doing. Is your bank balance kind of trending upward? If so, we would recommend moving some of that money into a high yield savings account. You can look back on our episodes and find the one where we talk about how to find an online savings account that's yielding, over 4.5%, still FDIC insured, still easy to get your money, but you actually earn some interest if that's you. If not, if your bank balance has been kind of declining, look to see what's causing that. Are you spending more on groceries? Are you spending more eating out at restaurants? Is it entertainment? Where's that bucket leaking, and try to plug those leaks so that you get back on track, because it is very important that you have a fully funded emergency fund. At a bare minimum $1,000, but ideally 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Especially if you're single, you really want to have that cushion, or if you are a single earner household, you definitely want to make sure that you err on having a little bit more in your emergency fund. And also just to see if you were going to invest a certain amount each month, are you doing that? Are you paying down on your debt? Student loans are getting ready to restart, so you need to make sure that you find money in your budget for those payments if you have not used this hiatus to maybe pay them off completely. So it's important to look at that and sort of take stock of where you are before we enter the fourth quarter, because it's easy to get carried away in the fourth quarter with spending. There's a lot more get-togethers. We want to buy gifts for people, or we feel like we need to buy gifts for people when maybe we don't. If you're going to someone's house and you feel like you should take a hostess gift, maybe make them something, because you can make a bunch of cookies, put them in cute little cellophane bags, and give them out, and people love that. It's not something else that they have to find a place for, because everybody can find a place for cookies, I promise you. And so there's certain ways you can do that to reduce your expenditures, but it's very, very important to have a plan, because if you have a plan, then you can look to see, okay, I'd like to buy these gifts. I'd like to travel here for Thanksgiving. This is what it's going to cost me. Where's that money going to come from? So that you can start preparing for it now, so you don't wind up in January with a big old credit card bill that you're like, oh my God, how am I going to pay this? Especially with credit card rates pushing up into the high 20%. So you definitely do not want to carry a balance on your credit card. So you really want to get very specific and planned and detailed about what your spending is going to be going into the fourth quarter and for the holidays. I know that doesn't sound very exciting or about a whole lot of fun, but I promise you, if you plan now and you stick to that plan, come January, those New Year's resolutions are going to be so much easier to hit, because part of it will be you're not going to have a big credit card balance to pay off, because you've paid it as you went and you didn't spend more than you planned, so life becomes so much easier. what I've had people tell me time and time again is that once they really got serious and really cut the consumer debt and got rid of the payments, they have a lot more money to do with as they want. And especially now with savings rates being higher, they're getting, $100 a month in interest, and they're using that to fund some of their extracurricular activities or things that they want to do. So instead of paying interest, they're earning interest, and that's giving them even more money to have fun. But in order to do that, you've got to get rid of particularly the credit card debt. And as student loans get ready to restart, you really need to get serious about getting those paid off. And if you qualify for public loan service forgiveness, definitely make sure you apply. I had a client call me last week that I had been really pushing her and her husband to apply for that because she works in a high needs school district, and her loans were like $60,000. She got a letter that a part of them were paid off, and she called to find out about the rest, and they said, oh, you're right, you are eligible. $60,000 of student loans were paid off because she had worked in the school system for 20 some odd years. So it's important to go ahead and fill out that paperwork and do the things if you do qualify for that. If you work for a not-for-profit, a governmental agency, you likely will qualify for public loan service forgiveness, which means that after 10 years, those loans can be forgiven, and that can be a huge weight off your family's shoulders. So thanks for tuning in. I know we've covered a lot of mileage on this one, much more so than normal, but I think it's important to take a look back and then look forward into the fourth quarter and be prepared. Thanks so much. This has been another episode of Better Financial Health in 15 minutes or less.